Hello, welcome to SmartGo. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to set up the account and your business information. So let's go to smartgo.com, and we're going to start from the very beginning. We're going to go ahead and click here so we can set up our own account, and we're going to call this SmartGo Demo Company. And for username, I would just go with SmartGo. And email address, let's go with we'll use our Gmail address. And good old Joe Smith. And we'll submit that. Now we just wait a few moments for our temporary username and password, our username and temporary password. Meanwhile, we can click here to go back to the logon page. Go over here. You can see we've already received our account information. So our username's good and our temporary password. So I'm just going to copy our temporary password. If I can get it to cooperate. And we'll go back over here and we'll log on. Okay. Now the first thing I recommend doing is going in to your company information, and that's over here under company info. So we'll click on that, and then we will go to edit. So you can see it's already put our company name in here, and we can go ahead and put in our address. Lane in somewhere, California. Zip code is 25897, and let's go ahead and put in our website address. And I recommend filling out all this information so that when you print your estimates, your invoices, your repair orders, they'll have all your company information on there. Now we can categorize phone number types, and right now we have none in because this is our brand new company. So we can go ahead and click on the little new icon to create a new phone category, and let's just call this the main phone number. Click OK, and we can type in our phone number, and that will format it for us automatically. And let's just say we have a fax number. Good idea to put that in there too. And over here, if you want to keep track of your federal ID number, your tax numbers, it's nice to keep these things in here. If you have employees that may need to look up your sales tax number for vendors, it's just a nice place to keep it in here. You can put your tax rates in here. We have a 6% tax rate on parts. We have a 0% tax rate on labor, so we're going to leave that as it is. Note, if you want to make any sorts of notes here, just general notes, something you want to keep track of, you can put those here, and then go ahead and click OK to save that. So that's basically it for setting up the actual company information. Now we move down here to these other tabs. Locations, If you have more than one shop you want to manage with the program, you can add a location here just by clicking New Location. And this is basically all the same information you just filled out for your company. And since we're not going to have a second location, we're just going to go ahead and click Cancel. Go over here to Employees. Let's add one employee. But right before we do that, let me just show you down here we have employee positions. This technician will be here by default and will always be there. You can't change or edit that because that's what's used when you're writing invoices and estimates to bill out technicians. So let's go back up here to New Employee and let's call this John Jones. And we can fill out all this other information, but let's just leave that and let's bill him out at $105 an hour. And he's the technician. So now we create invoices, we can use him to create the jobs. Click OK. So now we have an employee, we have the company information. Let's go here to Documents. Documents just allows you to save general documents if you want to save pictures or I don't know, maybe you want to have an employee handbook, maybe some sort of invoice, whatever it is, just you can store them in here. You click on New Document. You can categorize them just like you did the phone numbers. Then you can put a description in here. It's not required. Click Next and then upload the file, whatever it may be. We're just going to go ahead and cancel out of that because I don't have anything to save at the moment. Under Receivables, after invoices are processed, any money that's owed will show up here so you can keep track of your receivables. And over here, Contacts, that's where you keep your name of your suppliers, your guy who details your cars, whoever it is you need to keep track of their numbers. I keep those here. And of course you can add a new contact here. You can select the contact type. And again, suppliers will always be here by default because that's what we use for our purchase orders and our returns. And we're going to go ahead and do that. Let's add a supplier. Let's call it A1 Auto Parts. And our contact over there is Joe. And let's go ahead and put their main line as why not put a fax number in too? And if you want to make a little note about them, we can do that. And again, you can fill in all this other information. Let's do email address too, because that comes into play a little later on. And we'll save that supplier. And that pretty much finishes your company page and your company information. In the next tutorial, we'll move on to some of these other things under the company. Okay, in the last tutorial, we saw how to set up the basic company information. Your company name, address, alternate locations if you have more than one, your employees, technicians, showed that you could save documents, showed that we can track receivables, and we can add contacts here, and we went ahead and added one supplier. So let's go back up here to the company tab in the drop down, and let's click on Users and Roles. Right now you have one user, and that was the user set up automatically when your account was set up. If you have other people in your shop that you want to allow to use this program, you can create an account for them. Click on New User. Put in the username, password. Now you have 3 different roles here. Administrators are allowed complete access to everything. Power users will be access to everything except the company information. And that's going to come into play a little later on when more of the marketing features are included in the program. And then there's users, which are allowed to do the daily operations, the creating of invoices, purchase orders, that sort of thing. You want to put their email address in here and password questions in case they should lose their passwords. And then you can just click Save if you want to save that user, but we're not going to save any new users right now. If you want, you can go over here to Roles. And again, that's just the 3 roles that we talked about earlier, the administrator, the power user, and the user. If you click on those, it'll show you the accounts that are included in those roles. And you could actually add another user right here, and that will automatically put the person in this role. So that concludes the users and roles. Pricing matrix. Let's go on to that next. You can have an unlimited level of pricing for customer, for vehicle, for your location, for your company. Let's go ahead and set up the first pricing matrix. Some people might call these pricing structures. We'll spend a little bit of time on this. So we're going to create a new pricing matrix. And we're just going to start by calling this our first pricing matrix. Now we're going to highlight that. Now to highlight a record, it has to be orange like that, and click on it. If you click inside this white area, you're not going to select the record. Now a pricing matrix is broken down into as many levels as you want. So let's go ahead and add a new item or new level. Now we can base the pricing on the cost or the list price. So let's say we want to do this one on the cost. And parts from $0 to $100, we can do a number of things. We can add to it, we can subtract to it, we can divide it to create certain profit margins. I like to do divided by 0.6, and that gives us a 40% profit margin. Click OK. Now I'll do the next one on cost. Now we're going to make this from $100, 0.01, because the last one we ended at 100, to 1,000. And then we can do, let's do 0.7. That'll give us a 30% profit margin on those parts. And then for the last one, let's do cost 1,001. Let's take this up to 1 million. That way we know every part will be covered from that point. Divided by, let's do 0.8. That'll give us a 20% profit margin on those parts. Okay. So that's the first pricing matrix. Let's set up another one. Let's call this the second pricing matrix. Save it, select it, and let's add another one. This time let's do list price from 0 to 100. Oh, let's multiply it by 1.3. Let's do 4. Okay. The next one, we'll do list price from 100.01 to 1000. And then we'll multiply it times 1.3. And then the last one, we'll do the list price. Let's do that way we've got them all covered. And let's multiply that times 1.2. Okay, so we've set up two pricing matrices, and in later lessons you'll see where they'll come into play. But that's how you set them up. And then miscellaneous. This is where you go in and edit things. You'll save some email subjects for the emails that you send and email messages. And here you'll be able to edit and add those. And I'll get into a little more detail with those later when we get into sending emails. And that concludes the company information.